we OG, oh no, G. You're not bullish enough, yeah. Oh no, you're not bullish enough. You ain't got the oh no. I get stoned by the bolo. Bitcoin set to overload, yeah. Experts on reload, yeah. You're not bullish enough, yeah. Oh no, you're not bullish enough. You ain't got the oh no. I get stoned by the bolo. Bitcoin set to overload. Experts on reload. Mempool getting hot. Everybody wanna rock, ayy. Runes is coming, everybody on a knot, ayy. It's a nuisance, Ordinal Revolution, ayy. Ordinal Revolution. Yo, is my guy for real, bro? Got French right now. Yo, BRC 420, bro. Yo, that shit on fire, bro. Imagine if he in here. Yeah, like it in the seal. Murder. I got balls of steel. Nookies on the field. Yeah, this shit for real. With no calls, I get so far. Got 100 phone calls that I go hard, and they gon' love me. Smoke weed, huddle back. I get shiesty. Where my Bitcoin looking lovely. All this Satoshi's nothing above me. Bitcoin's alive, what you gon' do? Mempool fees are high. Ordinal. Where does it start? Nobody knows. It's a revolution, ayy. Bitcoin is the one, no substitution, ayy. With Shizzy and Yagobi, it's Ordinal Revolution.
Welcome back to Ordinal Revolution, where we uncover the entire Bitcoin Ordinal ecosystem. What's up, guys? We have a great show today with our guy, J25, joining us. Shizzy is out today with his family on vacation. We got a lot of things to cover today. We're going to go over the CPI. Came in a little under than expected. We're going to go over Odin Swap, which is a layer one, kind of trying to do a DEX, but it's not. It's centralized. So that's exciting. They're in testnet. And then we're going to go over Foxy's beta testnet as well. But the main theme of today is going to be going over different layers in the Bitcoin ecosystem to see which ones will thrive the most and which ones will, not do as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to bring my guy up, J25. What's going on, brother?
Yo, welcome. Thanks for having me again. Always a pleasure.
For sure. So I haven't had a chance to really talk to you other than the pre-show, right?
Yeah.
You were on last week, I believe, whenever I was out. And so we appreciate you filling in for us for sure. I did run into you in Nashville, which was a blast. But how are you feeling lately about the markets, about our space, and just everything in general?
Yeah. Legacy markets have this saying like, sell in May, go away, right? So volume in general goes away in the summer. And at the end of the day, I think after hours or shaman, shout out Bitcoin Benji's, they talk about the chart reflects human psychology. And this is something I really got into back in the day when I used to go to school, decades ago, was just the psychology of finance and how they intertwine so closely. Most people think it's a math problem, right? If this company makes X, then their price will be this and other considerations of the market, blah, 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 blah. But many things have to do with psychology, especially in the crypto markets. It's totally, PvP, PSYOP after PSYOP. So I really like that kind of just onset looking that you have, just to play the psychology of it. And humans like to go play in the summer. So, that's the psychology of the summer. And it definitely played out. I had other, busy times. I was out in Vegas playing cards a bunch or whatever. So I planned for at least like a 2-month break. And you can even see it on the timeline. Like tons of people are coming back, time to lock in, all of that kind of talk. And now we're seeing it with the volume finally. So, I think it's something that as we have this newer ecosystem, we're not quite used to it. But if you look at other markets and things like that, you're kind of, you should know that the volume does dry up in the summer, and now hopefully we're kicking into the real fun times of the fall. And this happened last year in ordinals, right? The summer was a dead time. Bitmaps or the BRC20 tokens, or we like to say at the OSD that it was definitely the gooses that helped kick it off. But we'll see. Well, maybe it's a fractal or something else this time.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that. That is the Wall Street mindset: sell in May, go away. But for
Mhm.
some reason, we're stuck in this nostalgia of trying to bring back DeFi summer every
Mhm.
single summer
Yeah,
afterwards, right? Like, doesn't
it happened
matter.
once. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened once and it was a great summer. But every summer afterwards, they're like, oh, it's going to be crypto summer again, or, ordinal summer or Bitcoin summer. This time it was Rune summer.
Yeah.
Why do you think that? I mean, do you think that's ever going to stop, or is that just going to continue on until we hit another
It's
one?
a good narrative, right? But crypto doesn't follow the S&P, but it's becoming a much more normalized market, right? You're seeing it with ETFs. There's sophisticated day traders. There's probably bots and market makers on most of these centralized exchanges, even out in the on-chain economy, right? Like, they see an arbitrage, they're going to grab it off the chain, so that way they're getting it at a lower price point. So, like anything, you've seen this in many industries. If you followed like the marijuana industry over the past couple of decades, right? Like, when it was illegal, it was a much higher price. Now it's much more of a commodity, and prices have dove over the last decade. So, not to say like the price will dive in Bitcoin, but it's becoming much more similar to legacy markets, at least for your majors, than just like your penny stocks and your shit coins are still on a similar level where they can go anywhere all over the place. But I feel like Bitcoin and Ethereum and a couple of the other majors, Solana, etc., are starting to act more, not exactly like, but more like legacy markets. So that's why you're seeing similar volume come and go, because you just have these big traders, these big market makers that are aware of it, and it's part of their trading portfolio.
Yeah, those are great points. And the more that TradFi gets involved, the more that it'll probably be even more similar, right? Some people were saying that Bitcoin will eventually break off of trailing the S&P 500. Do you think Bitcoin as an asset itself will break off and kind of create its own destiny that way? Or do you think, because like I just said, TradFi getting more involved, it's going to get even more and more similar to traditional stocks?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of the argument that most people say, is that if you have fiat, Bitcoin is the answer, right? Because Bitcoin is a limited supply, whereas fiat can always be printed. So eventually it should continue. And I mean, obviously, if you look over the entire lifetime of Bitcoin specifically, or any other asset, it's obviously crushing, the S&P or the Dow or the 2000 or whatever. So, um, yeah, I think that the volume does, but I think that the fact that it's a fixed supply, it's a token that takes in energy, and that's somewhat the basis of the cost for now. And I think you or somebody brought it up the other day. What if we have this green technology boom, but at the end of the day, if we have infinite energy, then the hash rate goes to the moon and the difficulty changes. So I just think that Bitcoin is one of the more pure examples of sound money. And when you compare it to fiat over the long run, obviously there's going to be day-to-day changes, month-to-month changes, but it just has a different math problem at the end of the day, because you can't make any more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I don't think it was me that said the green energy, but that's a great point. If it does become, more efficient and, less expensive, then, this could be a positive thing for miners and stuff like that. We'll see what
Mm.
happens there. But speaking about fiat, let's get into the CPI here. So
Yeah.
U.S. inflation falls to 2.9%, lower than expectations of 3%. So 0.1% lower, not really a huge jump down, but better than expected. But yet Bitcoin dumped this morning from like 61,000 to 59.5. I think you said you tried to sneak in a long in there or
Mhm.
something like that. I
Yeah.
mean, is that weird? Is this manipulation from these market makers or exchanges? What's going on with this?
So I think a lot of the information that comes out the day of has already been front ran by people's bets the weekend or the week before. So like there was talk last week, even in like ordinal spaces, right, that CPI is expected to come out a bit lower. It's going to be a decent number. Could it have been better? Yes, it obviously could have been worse. But most people are making their bets beforehand, right? So when the actual information comes out, maybe the market with this number anticipated it being 2.8 or 2.7, right? They thought it'd be a little bit farther under, so their expectations didn't meet what actually happened. So then they had to pull back a little bit. But it could easily be, and we were talking a little bit about this, and like Shaman and the other TA traders I talked to, the market makers love to do a dump right before it rips, because then you cancel out all those longs. If they're not able to get back in their position, then it makes more sense for them to go up and get the shorts, right? So like we were talking about human psychology, like everything is PvP, and these market makers have huge bundles of money where they can just go to almost like fiat, where they can go to almost infinite amount of size and kind of twist things their own way. But now that there's so much money in the system, I really feel like it's just people place their bets, and if it doesn't meet their exact expectations, they then counter. Or it could just be a normal fluctuation. We've been going through this like 10-20k range, if you zoom out to like the weekly or larger charts for a while now. So overall, it's still like very bullish, even if we were to drop to like 50 or something, because realistically, it's just then a healthier market to then send to higher numbers.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said that, these market makers and exchanges have infinite money. I think that's true up until your greed is obnoxious, like FTX and Alameda Research, right? Because that's exactly what they did. They were the market makers betting against themselves eventually, because if you think about it, they were taking out unlimited leverage. Right. But what this is good news, though, in terms of the economy. We're down 0.1%. Does this, plus with what happened with the Japanese yen and crashing the markets a couple weeks ago, does this kind of pair up and give you like at almost 100% sure that the Fed is going to cut rates in September?
Yeah, I think the 25 basis points, kind of from the more trade fi people would say it's like baked already in. Now the new bet is like, is it going to be a 50 basis point cut? Which I think is unlikely, just based on the track record of the Fed. Obviously, different times, different people running it, but they like to move slowly, right? They don't want to scare or jitter the market, because that's even worse than going slowly. So I think most likely they'll do a small rate cut first, and then maybe that October one, if things keep in line, keep going the way they want to see the numbers, etc., then they'll maybe do a double. But realistically, I think like the 25 basis points is kind of already baked in, unless there's like some huge reason that they feel that they have to jump in there and do more. Cool. But I think realistically, they're going to go slow. Like they don't want to overheat the market at the wrong time and then have to change course and then start raising again, right? That would be the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Great points there. Yeah. I think, September seems like a pretty fair month to start cutting. Mm-hmm. You can see on Polymarket, I think it got up to like 90% bets that September 18th would be the date. So we'll see what happens after that, because there's some people that say once rates start getting cut that there's a dump, in the following months, the couple months, but that could lead up to like a great holiday season for us. So we'll see.
And there's going to be tons of money sloshed around with the election. So generally a leading indicator for most people is the ad revenue markets, right? When ads start to dry up, that's usually a sign that people are cutting their spending. So, if ads are going through the roof, which we know they're going to during, political season, I just don't see, unless there's some huge black swan event. But then it's a time to take advantage, because like we were talking about earlier, like the math is different, Bitcoin versus fiat.
Yeah, 100%. And guys, before we move on to the next subject here, or topic we talk about here, please smash that like for us on the YouTube side. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to us. Turn your notifications on so you know when we go live. And then on the Twitter side, please share the space so we can onboard and educate as many people as possible. But we're going to move on here and get to this other bit of news, and then we'll get into some of the more routine things that we do. But hey, $2.8 trillion US bank Goldman Sachs, that's their value, bought $418 million of spot Bitcoin.
Nice.
How big of a deal is this?
It's great. There's a lot of buying pressure. So that's why, I think maybe there's short-term dips, but overall, right, I think people that look on chain keep continuing to talk about how whales are accumulating on these dips, how financial institutions are accumulating on these dips. So, I'm not sure who's selling their Bitcoin right now. I'm certainly not. But a lot of the volume is honestly day traders, right? It's people putting in longs and shorts and making short term bets. So money comes in, money goes out, right? Volume is there Monday through Friday, the East Coast stock market time for the vast majority. There's still plenty of volume, following the Asian markets, et cetera, even on the weekends, but it's not nearly the same. I mean, if you just go look at the numbers, they're not the same. That's another reason why it does trade a little bit more like legacy markets, because you have that day trader mentality of a lot of people that are doing leverage plays on their Monday through Friday schedule because they want it to be a normal job. Once again, leading back to the human psychology of, yeah, it's a 24/7 market, but I want to go to sleep at some point.
Yeah, that's true. But like this is a big indicator for me that traditional bankers or like the banking industry is starting to come on board here. But one thing that worries me is obviously the election. I think that we're probably overthinking this with the election, but at the same time, we have PTSD from the previous or the current administration, I should say.
Mhm.
But banks buying this much spot Bitcoin should tell us something, right? That no matter who wins, they're starting to get on board. Is that what you're seeing with this?
Yeah, the ETFs were a sign of that. Certain governments before were kind of a leading sign of that, where they were buying it and people were laughing at them, and they didn't get the greatest price, but they continue to DCA in, as most people would tell you. If you make a bet and it goes down and you still are convicted in it, then buy more, right? And we're kind of seeing that with Runes, right? Runes had a drawdown over the summer and has recently seen a bounce. So, there's only so low that the asset can get when there's a certain amount of people that aren't going to sell it no matter what, unless it goes to, their price target. Only so many people are willing to capitulate at lows, et cetera. So, yeah, I'm just all for it. I think Bitcoin, continues to chug along. But in the markets, uncertainty usually creates, volatility. And that's what we're seeing, right? We had, 3 weeks ago, it was a shoo-in that Trump was going to win. And then there was this curveball, and now Harris is in the campaign. So there's more uncertainty in the markets, and that's only going to continue through November. So that's why I've mentioned, yeah, it could go to all-time highs again. It could dip back to like 40. But like this is the range that's been set if you look at like the weekly chart. And, it's dealing on a much longer term move rather than, the day-to-day, oh, I got my long and now it has to print.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I feel like Bitcoin is kind of trailing the momentum a little bit of Trump. It was for a little bit.
Mm,
So it's like that the election momentum is just as volatile as Bitcoin is right now, right?
yeah.
So, but at the end of the day, I think if we as Bitcoiners and if we're in the Bitcoin ecosystem, we need to realize whoever wins, it doesn't matter. Bitcoin isn't going to die. Bitcoin will thrive. There might be a little bit of a pause in terms of, delaying the big leg up to start this big bull run. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin's going to Bitcoin, right? Don't you
Right.
think?
Right. Well, and if these large institutions kind of like inferred a little bit, is this manipulated a little bit? If these large institutions want to buy it, they don't want to buy it at six figures, right? So there's been a lot of talk of like, oh, Bitcoin's been held down. Last cycle, it was SBF and their team, there was talk about that they were kind of holding it down and things like that. And that's happened probably in other cycles in different ways with different market makers. And it was just less known. So if you have these huge players in there, I mean, do you really think that they don't talk to each other about things previous to crypto, right? Like there's been market manipulation in the market since going back to the light bulb, et cetera. So yeah, if they want to really get in here and get a pile, then yeah, they're probably going to do what they can to keep the price suppressed for as long as possible. And that's where like I think Shizzy's scenario plays out, right? Where you have the short squeeze and it just moons to this astronomical number because the literal on-chain Bitcoin is just so scarce. And that's, some, very big laser eyes say the exact same thing. That's why they hodl for dear life.
Yeah. Well, if Bitcoin hits Shizzy's prediction this cycle, I'm definitely going to give him his props because I
Yeah.
think it's a bit out of range.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with 250, 300,000. And I
Yeah.
think that's definitely a good price point to hit.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, into the six figures, I'm very happy, you know. And like we said, it's becoming more normalized. So the moves may not be as parabolic as before, which is why we do ordinals, other tokens, etc., because we want to do a higher risk for that higher reward.
100%. 100%. I agree with you. And I think we have to also remember the percentage of increase goes down every cycle because, when you go up in value, like
The
you
dollar
go up.
amount might go up, but the
Exactly.
percentage change is not the same. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. There would have
They-
to be some sort of crazy hyperinflation for us to
mhm.
reach a higher percentage than the previous
Right.
time.
Right. And
So,
that would be tough times, you know what I mean? Like for
yeah.
a lot of people, right? So like, yeah, it's good for your bags, but if the world is in chaos, like, you know,
What does it
that's a
matter?
pretty big trade-off, you know? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would like the steady climb to keep chugging along.
Yep. But I do hope we hit Shizzy's target because that would, without
Mhm.
the hyperinflation.
Yeah, yeah. Right. No, it would be
All right.
great, obviously.
Yeah. All right. Well, we typically do a fear and greed guess every day
Mhm.
on the show. So you're gonna take my spot to be the guesser this time.
Okay.
So yesterday the fear and greed meter was at 31. What do you think it is at today?
I'm gonna guess 42.
42. Okay. No, you're
No, I
you're
went the wrong
pretty
way.
off there. Yeah.
Mm,
You're kind of like how I am.
yeah.
I'm always off on this meter because it's usually volatile, like
Yeah.
pretty good range, but today and yesterday and last week it's showing like a 2-point swing here. So
Yeah.
yeah, 30 point for the fear and greed. I'm guessing because we did jump back up to 61K before 8 p.m.
And that
yesterday.
index
But
is specifically on Bitcoin, or is that just the
um,
fear and greed on the markets index, right?
so I think that's the crypto fear and
Yeah,
greed
because I know
index.
it's been
Yeah.
bouncing around a lot. Like it was over 50 and then back to 30. And yeah, and I don't follow that indicator very closely.
Is there a
It's just
Bitcoin only one?
no, I'm not sure. I think it's just
Okay.
like the one index. I was just curious if it was like a Bitcoin centric one, maybe you were peeking at. But yeah, I mean, I don't see how with rate cuts, money dumping into the market, right? I get uncertainty and things like that. But yeah, I just think that all assets are gonna, be probably doing okay. I know we've seen all-time highs, and that when rates go down, people are going to start shifting money out of bonds or cash accounts that are getting over 5%. It's not going to happen immediately, but when you start to get to like 1-2% over the longer haul, that money is going to want to find a better return, right? It's not going to want to go from 5 to 3% when the market's getting you 8 to 10 or other risk on assets are out there. So I think that you'll see a lot of these people that have been kind of just hoarding cash because they're getting a great rate, right? Like 5% for doing literally nothing, most of them FDI insured. Now they can go, okay, well, it's only 3%. Like we'd really like to get back to like 5, 8, 10. You'll start to see more money probably going into similar markets.
Yeah, and I typically like whenever the fear and greed goes lower if we're kind of building up this demand eventually, right? But
Mm,
the way it's been the past month, it's just been everywhere. Like we've
yeah.
jumped all the way to like I think 60 and then back to like 29 and
Mm,
for me, I'm like, man, I'm scared to trade right now, leverage, right? Because and it's almost like with what happened this morning too for me, if you're not trading 2 to 3x leverage, then just wait till you got that big confirmation that we are there in that big
yeah.
leg. Then you win, right? Because then you can get a little bit more risky. You just go, Bitcoin's gonna blow past 85K, 90, 100,
Yeah.
and then you don't be too greedy. But I think this is a tough time to trade whenever there's people probably like myself that's not a great trader, right? But sometimes I can get overconfident because I did well in
Yeah.
the previous month
Yeah.
because it's so volatile.
Yeah, and perp trading is completely different than spot trading, right? Like
Yeah.
most people should just buy spot because they have conviction, and if it goes lower, then you're able to DCA in. Whereas when you're using leverage, you have liquidation points, and those swings can really gobble you up. Personally, I've been really focused on just doing short moves and compounding my account. I've noticed whenever I try to leave things open, even for like an hour or overnight, it doesn't happen because I'm probably using too much leverage. I'm not doing a 2 to 5x and just like letting the overall weekly chart play out. So I'm doing much more of like a directional trade where I feel like it's finally hit this bottom of a range. Okay, I can place my bet with a reasonable stop. Yeah, maybe I lose $5 if I'm wrong, but if I'm right, I'm catching hopefully like a 5% bounce and then amplified by whatever leverage.
Yeah. 100%, man. I don't like those nights, sleepless nights, I'll call them, because you're
Yeah.
kind of sleeping with one eye open and checking your
Mhm.
phone constantly because you're like, oh, I got like a
Yeah.
7x
Should I be
open or
taking
10x.
profits? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Right.
and
So,
if you're really good at doing that, you can also, set your take profits. You can put in limit orders, right?
stop
Like
loss.
there's definitely a different style for everybody. You don't have to just be a maniac and go all the way. And I'm learned from a lot of those guys. So like everybody has to take their own style. And I started really focusing. I have a background in finance. I've been much more of a macro person. I've known about TA for a long time. But last year I really started to look into it and learn from other people. And then I just took nuggets from each of them. And it's really about doing the reps. Yeah. Did I blow $100 on an account multiple times? Of course, because I was learning. But then now I learned things that made me a better trader in ordinals, in tokens, doing spot. And now I'm more comfortable. And I finally have started to kind of book some wins where I'm getting like 150% return on this, and it's usually like 15, 20 minutes where I just catch a move because my assumption is right. Did I get stopped out twice before? Maybe, but I've then make money overall on the trade because I finally hit it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, guys, if you have no experience in leverage trading, I definitely recommend that you do a ton of research and practice. Practice, like Jay
Yeah.
just said.
Copy
Practice on the
trade or not, or sorry, but you
paper
can
trade.
do paper trading. Yeah. You can go in there and literally make bets and click the buttons, get used to the site, whatever site it is you're using, and then see what happens. Right. And then you're losing fake money. And then eventually, hopefully you get to the point where you're making fake money and then you can actually do it.
Yep, exactly. And speaking of leverage, we're going to jump into the Bitcoin price action segment. And it is brought to you by BitPerp, which is a premium perpetual DEX that's going to be launching on Botonics, which is a Bitcoin layer 2 chain. There's multiple Bitcoin layer 1 builders that are going to be launching on Botonics as well. So let's jump right into it here. I am showing you guys the hour chart on BitPerp. You can see there was a triple top kind of. It's not super clear, but you can see it is kind of playing out how a triple top would play, and it dumped this morning, but it did get up to that 61. I did call this diamond pattern yesterday that broke to the upside. I didn't expect it to break that hard, though. Honestly, I thought maybe 60,500, but it got to 61,500, and the top here was, or I should say 61,200 around there. And then did this Bart Simpson type pattern here. And then this morning. So I think there was a lot of people that were faked out, this morning with CPI, probably taking extra longs up here saying, oh, wow, CPI is good. Let's continue this. And the market makers and exchanges said, nope, we're going to take your money and liquidated you guys. So I don't know, but you do see on the MACD that the sell pressure is still opened up here. So this could last a bit longer. We're at 59,200. The stochastics is, just entering in the oversold territory here. So the rest of the day kind of looks like it could be, I don't know, a little gloomy, because like I said, this sell pressure doesn't look like it's letting up right now. But as you know, in this volatile market, anything can change. What are you thinking on the short term for the rest of the day?
Yeah, I mean, intraday is always tough, right? Like it could range back here, back that wick could change. But like we said earlier, that original green might have been everybody kind of anticipating that CPI was going to be, 10 basis points or more, obviously, since it ended up dumping today. So maybe they thought it was going to be 25 basis points under or something like that. So that's where they were placing their bets. And when it was essentially a statistical tie with expectations, right? Like 0.1% is not far off. They're like, okay, well, we weren't quite right. Maybe this isn't, as good or as bullish as we had anticipated, right? If a 2.5% were to come out, it might have been a completely different story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. 100%. And then on the 8-hour chart, which is more of a forecast for, I would say, probably like a week out, you can see that the buy pressure is weakening here on the MACD for the 8-hour chart. Stochastics, honestly, yesterday I thought this green candle would kind of change the fate for the 8-hour chart, bounce back up, finish out the next 7 days kind of stronger, possibly. But it looks like it is continuing on with this journey. Again, this market is volatile, so anything can happen. I do, see kind of like the end of August leading into September, possibly, changing trajectory to get more bullish because all these builders are talking about September. And then maybe people are going to try to front run and get ready for the rate cuts. But we don't know how the rate cuts are going to play out. How do you feel for the rest of August?
I think it's more chop. Like all of the way smarter traders than me, even some of them some of them love the chop and they are diving in and just playing their scalping and their skills that they've honed over a long time. And others are saying, this is not the market for me. I'm going to wait until I see a clear signal, whether it be, a rise and then I can short it, or a bottom and then I can do it, whether it's your fibs or, drawn shapes or whatever, there's certain ranges, different tools, as you showed a few on here. That's the biggest thing that I've taken away is you can't copy trade somebody because you're never going to have the same insights as them, but you can learn tools from everybody. So, intraday is always tough to say. At the end of the day, it's really a coin flip, and hopefully it goes one way or the other, and you get out in the profit. But yeah, I think you just have to look at those longer term frames. Bitcoin is bullish against fiat because there is fiat.
Yeah, for sure. And again, guys, the Bitcoin price action was brought to you by BitPerp, the premium perpetual DEX that's going to be launching on Botonics, and they will have an opportunity for you guys to do paper trading testing for yourself. There's a paper trade trading competition in the next couple of weeks. We'll get you guys more details about that. So let's jump into the roll call, one of our favorite parts of the show. We got 131 people in here, guys. Put your comments and questions in here for J25. We're gonna get into the Bitcoin ecosystem stuff, I promise you. And it's gonna be a fun conversation because I love some of his perspectives on different ecosystems in our space, and we'll get into some banter there. But let's get into the roll call. First is first, as Shizzy loves to say, and Web Dro is first, and he types L1, so he is bullish on Bitcoin Layer 1, which we all are. Come on, let's be real. And then we got Tim Baker, one of our oldest mods in the space. He's been with us since I want to say since we started to brand with Ordinal Revolution. So shout out to Tim Baker there. Next we got Samawat Zahid. Thank you for showing up this morning. And then Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh, has joined us. Lackey Lukey comes in in the 5th place position there. And then we got our guy Yashir. Yashir's always here. Yashir's one of our mods, but he also helps us prep for the show. So a lot of the generalized Bitcoin news comes from him. So we want to thank Yashir for helping us out.
I chatted with him in the chat a little bit the other day and a few other times. Yeah, definitely informed and good to talk with him.
Yeah, and one thing that Yashir does really well is he connects with other communities as well, right? So he's testing, he's doing things like that, and I highly recommend you guys do that because it gets you connected into our ecosystems network. So great job, Yashir, with helping us out. Next up is Ordinal Tweets. What is going on, Ordinal Tweets in the house? We got Big Goofy Guy. Big Goofy Guy. I know I've seen you around. I'm not sure if this is, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe today's your first time, but if it is, welcome to the show. We got No, which has also joined our research and development. Yeah. And it's so funny because like Shizzy will misread a name or something. And then that's the name. He calls him No, and then I call him No, but it says No. Yeah. So
maybe it's No.
There you go. No. Yep. And then we got Bitmap Gallery in the house. Welcome. One of our OGs, Mr. Sheedy. Appreciate you, sir.
Nice crown.
Yep. We got Dream Baked in the house. Welcome. Joko says, yo. Welcome back to the show, Joko. And then who's this guy? Shizzy underscore OR. Shizzy's trying to sneak in and see what we're doing here. See if we're talking about his crazy price predictions of 750K.
Yeah, aren't you supposed to be on vacation?
I know, man. Like, he can't stay away. He's always working. We got Mr. J. It says, good morning. Good morning, fellas. No Limit Dude up next. And then we got Decentralized. It says, gonna need J25 to skip this episode. We are getting raided in Rust. What is that about?
Yeah, we've been playing a Rust server or two here and there. Decentralized is an OG, played way too many hours. And I used to watch it on Twitch a lot. I used to be a pretty big Twitch head back in the day. So he talked me into buying it on sale for like $10. And so we jump in every now and again. Yeah, we're probably getting stuff blown up. It happens all the time. Like it resets every week. So you play for like 1 or 2 days, kind of heavy, and then you just move on to the next one.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it'll be on fire when I get there, whatever.
He'll be there in about, I would say, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So try to hold the fort down until then. Chief Axel in the house says, good morning. We actually met Chief Axel in Nashville. Really, really good guy. Thanks for the support as always. We got Ant-Man in the house. We got SPI says, yo, GM. Mr. Bit Genie, which is, I believe, the founder of the Bit Genie Dex on Merlin chain. Shout out to Mr. Bit Genie building over there on Merlin. Claudio, what is going on? He says, yo, yo. And then we got our guy Sixes in the house. If I can click on it here, Sixes. And then Jesus in the house. D-Love in the house. If you don't know D-Love, go check out D-Love. Follow her on Twitter. She is an OG in the space, always contributing. So shout out to D-Love. And I think, we got Cash Cats. This is another name that Shizzy it actually turned into Coach Cats. I don't know how, but Cash Cats turned into Coach Cats. But and that wraps up the roll call. Man, I don't know how Shizzy does that every single day, because my mouth is really dry right now, and I felt like I just named off a bunch of names here.
Right.
But all right, so let's get into the Bitcoin ecosystem, which is what people are here for. Let's talk about some of the energy that's flowing back in. So energy seems to be flowing back into the Bitcoin ecosystem. We saw the runes ecosystem at first. That's the first thing that I noticed kind of pop up late last night and this morning. Mm-hmm. You know, with Bitcoin drawing back to 58.9, do you think that completely stops this momentum that's happening, or do you think we continue on with this?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the prices ranged. I mean, remember when ordinals first started, we were under 30K. So a lot of people are still well up on their Bitcoin bags. Yeah, maybe it creates some hesitancy, but I think many people, like we talked about earlier, are checking back in, locking in, etc. And this is a good confirmation, right? A lot of people have probably been sitting on the sidelines waiting for a confirmation like this. And we had a little sputter start like at the beginning of August, kind of like this, where there was like a day or two and things started to move, and then it kind of flattened again. It was more so like ordinal projects, a little bit runes. And then it kind of like, took the back seat again. So hopefully this really is the one. I would like to note that, certain BRC20s have been running for a couple weeks. If you go look at like the SATS chart, etc. But yeah, generally, it's good to see anything moving. I think a lot of people are starting to talk about fractal Bitcoin, which we've been looking into for a while. Definitely need to hear more details, but any narrative that becomes bullish and then starts to become widespread is going to start to get people excited and say what could be, right? And then it becomes, now there needs to be delivery. So like anything else, there's a lot of ifs. But the main reason I'm excited about something like Fractal Bitcoin is because they're trying things differently. Bob Bodilly had a great tweet the other day where he basically said it's taking all of the good points of all of these random side chains, rootstock, drive chain, et cetera, and smashing them all together. And I think Unisat is really at the point where they don't want to wait around anymore. Right? They've been trying to work with Layer 1 Foundation, Domo, and get all of these certain things in ducks in a row. And we saw like around winter time, there was that little bit of kerfuffle where like Unisat, said they were going to go forward, and Domo and Layer 1 weren't ready. I think that Fractal Bitcoin is like, okay, that's fine. You guys want to hold the reins up on the swap and L1 and BRC20s, then do it your way. Well, we're going to take everything to our own playground sandbox and we're going to do it our way. And I think that's really like the opportunity that something like Fractal brings, is because everything people have tried and wanted to do, they're really plucking out the best portions of that and looking for it. So everybody's starting to talk about it, and any narrative is something good to bring in interest to the market.
Yeah. Before I respond to that, I want to make
Mhm.
sure that I catch our guy Kai Effect. My bad, I missed you on the roll call. Kai is definitely here, and he shows up every day, so I
I
had
see him
to
around.
give
Yeah.
him his props there. But yeah, I saw that post by Bob, and it was very interesting because it was kind of like a positive on Fractal, but also there was some downside section. I don't know if you saw that, and one
Yep.
of them was that the smart contract side would be very limited because
Still Bitcoin.
it said that, and it said no op codes, but opcat is being added to Fractal now. So does that change the fact that, even if it's in Bitcoin script, can they be as robust as a typical EVM smart contract, you think?
No, probably not. But it's their chain, right? So they can propose things and they can experiment. That I think that they're going to take it, slow to start. They're already making many changes, faster blocks, more block size, trying to do a pegging system, the merge mining with the cadence mining, right? There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of ifs. So they need to really get a good framework and an infra that's set, and the testnet's been out. People have been practicing with it, right? And it feels a lot like Bitcoin. It feels a lot like when you're doing things on Unisat, because that's the team that's building it. Now, does it get the bid with liquidity, right? Can they actually get things like liquidity pools that people are putting money in, trusting, and using? That's going to be really the next step forward, is does the market trust it enough to use it? And that's what I really look forward to seeing. And, there's been talk, I've been following it, I think since last October, the programmatic module for L1. That is still in the works, but I don't think it's going to be ready when Fractal Bitcoin is. Kind of like I was mentioning earlier, I think Unisat has said, okay, L1, we're going to work together and we're going to play nice and we're going to try and do this as a team effort. But Fractal Bitcoin is our tool that we're going to try and build things with in a systematic way that we want to. It's really a BSVer's dream to be a side chain that you can do things like this before. So rather than it being, like, hey, we're going to go fork the chain and go play in our own sandbox. No, we're just going to start building off of your sandbox and build a castle the way we want.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I'm going to circle back to that because our next topic is going to allow us to dive further into Fractal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I want to hit on runes before we move to that next topic, because we're
sure.
going to be able to continue the runes conversation over there as well. But, the energy that we saw with runes and stuff, I haven't really heard your full kind of opinion on runes as a standard in an ecosystem. How do you feel about runes?
I think that it was overpromised and underdelivered overall, right? The main gains were made in pre-runes, which is great. At the end of the day, they were really ordinal collections with promises, right? Whether you bought into this one or that one, this mechanism, etc. But the overall protocol, a lot of people were hyping it, whether they were knowledgeable or not, that it was going to have LPs and AMMs and this and that. Well, I was actually talking to the strongest UTXO management dev that I know, with Ordinal's wallet, Harry, and they were on Signet. They were testing it, right? So if Ordinal's wallet couldn't have a swap ready day one, nobody else was going to. That was my opinion. So that was, I think, the big point that hurt people, and it can obviously turn around or whatever, but they brought in people from Solana, Ethereum, other places, and sold them this pitch like it's going to be like that. It's going to be like that. It's essentially BRC20s. Instead of doing the transfer scription in the front end, you do it on the back end. Okay, if you want to sell your whole bundle, great. Then it is somewhat simpler for that specific scenario. But generally, when you're trading tokens, you want a DCA in, you want a DCA out, right? So it's a very similar trading. Shout out to Magic Eden, though, like that little slider reel, game changer, right? It just made things on a UI level simpler. And this is something I've definitely talked about, whether it's BRC20 runes or whatever to come. Make the UI simple, right? We're trying to get people that are doing 1 second charts on Solana, and maybe that changes over time. But if you just make the UI where it's one click and then it does these mechanisms, that makes it easier. Just like a simple slider made things easier for buying runes when it came out, rather than like the point and click and picking all of these ordinals essentially.
Yeah, great point. Great point. It didn't, Magic Eden adding that slider was definitely a good benefit, but at the end of the day, the UI is still similar in terms of, the UX, the user experience is still similar. Like we were trading BRC20s except for transfer inscription, right?
Right.
And so there wasn't that big of a difference with runes. So let's move to this next topic because we'll continue this conversation, which is which parts of the Bitcoin ecosystem will thrive. And what I want you to try to do is to rank which parts from let's say I'm going to probably name 4 from 1 to 4 in order of success. So let's say runes, BRC20, or let's say this, runes, BRC20, tap, and let's put Bitcoin sidechains all together. So that includes Fractal, Merlin, all that stuff, right? So if you could rank those from 1 to 4, how would you rank them?
Yeah. So my current opinion, and this can obviously change, but is BRC20s, runes, side chains, and tap. I'd put similar. I think they're both doing similar things. And the main reason I put that is timing, right? So everybody wants to say runes need more time, which I agree with, but it had 6 months of testnet. BRC20s didn't. It was launched, it was open, and it was an experiment on chain happening live. Like people were trading in Excel sheets, and the market had to figure it out on its own. So I think that the spotlight right now is going to be on BRC20s because Fractal's coming out, right? Unisat's behind that with the backing of Binance. So there's going to be, the spotlight is going to be on them with programmatic modules. Does the swaps work? Does Fractal work easily, et cetera, et cetera? And whether it succeeds, so in the case that it succeeds, it's going to bring liquidity to all tokens throughout. So maybe BRC20 see a better push, but it brings along all the ships with them because liquidity is coming into the overall system. And ideally, runes can also be on Fractal, swapped, etc. And then I think if it fails or isn't as well cooked, fully baked, I think Susie was saying like, yeah, maybe it comes out in September, but it won't be fully functional to the end of the year, early next year. Totally a possibility. A lot of moving parts like we talked about. So whether it's kind of a letdown or needs more time to cook, then the spotlight will return to runes and other things, because right now you have everything moving towards, like Lorenzo jumped in a space on the Ordinal show the other day. Sats jumped 20%, right? Unisat has been quiet all summer. They have this huge thing that they're putting out, Fractal Bitcoin, and they're going to be noisy, right? So there's going to be anticipation, people talking about it. And I actually saw somebody post this. I've been talking about it for a little while. Binance made an Ethereum clone last cycle, BNB, right? I think Francis Dunn actually put out that video when he saw it at $1. It's trading at over $500 now. They've done a lot of good things, whether you like BNB or not. It's, it is basically Solana before Solana, right? There was the pancake swap and a lot of DeFi that was built there that changed.
A lot of degenning happening.
Yeah, but it also changed the game. Those contracts were being used on all the EVM chains, right? After a while. So now Binance through Unisat is making their Bitcoin clone, right? So if you think that Binance, after all of the CZ stuff, all of the other drama that's been going on, they want to put a new page after closing that chapter. And I think that their new page is going to be Fractal Bitcoin and their Bitcoin clone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you definitely have some good points there. So you clustered Tap and Bitcoin sidechains together. Tap has come out with an announcement that they've actually executed a smart contract on L1, and whether that's through ICP and finalizing the transaction on Bitcoin or not, it seems like you don't count that as like an L1 type of protocol. I mean, how do you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, a pure L1 would be code on-chain L1 computing, right? And that's very difficult, right? I talked about the programmatic module. They're not going to be ready when Fractal's ready. You need that side chain. If you remember, Lambda Network in the spring put out a similar statement. There's OPNet. There's a lot of these people that are saying that they're pure L1. and they have aspects of L1, but they need tools that Bitcoin doesn't provide currently. So I would, whether you call that a 1.5, I mean, we can even argue that, you know, BRC20s, ordinals, even runes are technically a 1.5, right? Like if somebody that has no awareness of what an OP return is or what these inscriptions are, look at their UTXO or their sats with a non-ordinals aware wallet, they have no clue what we're talking about. So at the end of the day, like it really comes down to semantics and like, yeah, are there portions of it that are L1 for sure? But is it purely L1? No. And nobody is really doing that. Like they have to do these things. And it's been talked about for a long time, whether it's rootstock, drive chain, etc. It's going to be, is there a breakthrough that's not like Merlin with a multi-sig that creates that counterparty risk where, you know, do I think Merlin is a better option than using a centralized exchange? Yes. In a spectrum, is it the best decentralized option available? No. An atomic swap or a pegging system that's programmatic, on-chain, trusted, vetted, you know, a bunch of white hat hackers have plowed everything they can into it, and the market then starts using it. That's really what I think people want to see, because then you could have almost like a mempool style order book rather than a Magic Eden order book, an Ordinals wallet, a Unisat, an OKX order book, right? None of these are really intertwined. It's, you have to go find the deals or use a good aggregator.
Yeah. And you know, I agree with that partially. I do think it's cool that they are finalizing the transaction on layer 1. I think that is pretty cool because it is part of like the transaction, I guess, journey with whatever you're doing with that. But we need to see it, right? We need to be able to use it. I think then we'll have more of a solid answer on that. But one of the arguments that me and Shizzy get into quite frequently are, you know, liquidity versus builders, right? And so, you know, going back to the BRC20 versus runes, BRC20 has the liquidity. That's obvious, right? The East has that liquidity there.
Right.
The builders are on runes. I mean, that's undeniable. You know, they're just there. And when I say builders, I mean people that have aspirations for this project and they have a runes token, right? Because I mean, at this point, that's what we have here.
I mean, Uniswap started as a DApp, you know, and now it's a Goliath. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So who do you think one is more important than the other? And then if so, you know, I guess you can explain why you think, you know, which one's more important in terms of liquidity versus building ecosystem.
Yeah. So an example I use is everybody is very excited about OpCat. If it's such a revolutionary tool, why aren't you buying BCH or BSV then? It's currently available on those chains, right? The market has decided, whether it's completely because of that chain, right? But if the technology was so amazing that it would allow you to do LPs, AMMs, Ethereum, you know, EVM chain.
Well, I mean, you can say that about Cardano too, though, right?
Right. Okay, Cardano, right? Or you know, pick your UTXO chain out there, right? And if it has OpCat already in it, and I'm not well versed enough, even with ICP, right? I'm going to look into ICP more because I'm just not well versed enough. I know it has a bad rap; it's had negative things said about it, so I need to learn more about it to have my own informed opinion. Other than that, and maybe it has a rejuberance with this TAP protocol. But at the end of the day, you know, I feel like whether it's TAP or Lambda or OPNet or, you know, various other ones, they say that it's L1 because that is technically true. There is something happening on L1. But, you know, just like we see with certain swaps right now with runes or the futures markets or things like that are building great ideas. But at the end of the day, they're centralized. So is it better that it's on chain? Yes. Is it better than just going to your bookie at the corner? Of course. But is it, you know, as far as we want to push the spectrum to a full decentralized nature, inheriting the full security of Bitcoin, is it inheriting portions of the security of Bitcoin? Yes. But at the end of the day, you know, we've seen a lot of things come and go and claim many things until they actually deliver. Users use it. And my example, to get back to that with OPCat, if it was such a revolutionary technology, then the market would say, I want to use this technology because it gives me X, Y, and Z features, but they haven't. So, you know, and those chains have withered away over time, you know, because of hash rate, because of other things, because of the Craig Wright issue, et cetera. I agree that there's other things of it, but so many horses like the cats and other people are behind OPCat. What if OPCat doesn't ever happen? That's totally a possibility.
That's true. It is the possibility, but let's be real here. The reason why people want OPCat over here is because, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the reasons I'm over here, and probably you too, and a lot of people
Yeah.
here, is people want to tap into the liquidity of Bitcoin. People don't give a crap about the liquidity of BCH or BSV or
Yeah.
Cardano even, because it's like the largest liquidity is Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like this like you're trying to like mine this huge like freaking mountain that has a ton of gold in it,
Yeah.
and you're having limitations on how to get penetrated, right? And so that's what I think is the main reason why people aren't fleeing to Cardano, people aren't fleeing to BCH and BSV.
And I'm more looking back previous cycles, right? When Bitcoin Cash and SV and all these other ones had a better narrative, weren't rung through the ringer as much, right? They had these different options, and they were obviously going at it. But no, it's a great point. I mean, people want to do more, but do you really see Laser Eyes pegging or doing a pair with USDT and Bitcoin?
Well, I don't know. I think Shizzy does, but not USDT necessarily,
right,
but maybe like
1.
another stable.
4 trillion that's in Bitcoin that's hodled away, that people have been mining, solo mining, because they don't want anybody to ever touch their sats. You really think that cold storage is all, what I mean? I agree, portions of it may, right? There's going to be the trade five.
There will be some.
Do that. Definitely, whether it's 10, 50%, I have no clue. But there is a Bitcoin cypherpunk ethos that says, no, I want Bitcoin, period. And I don't want it to touch anything else. So, I mean, it's all in a spectrum, right? Like, would it help? Yes, etc. But I think that to say, those guys are going to be digging up that rock underneath 5 feet of dirt to go put it as a pair against USDT, like, they're not going to do that. So, it can help, but I just like to bring up that point. Like, Opcat is out there in the wild, and the market has decided for various reasons, right? But that technology has not made one of those chains the boon that it could be.
Yeah. I think greed is a hell of a drug, and I think that it could definitely make some people, get laser eyed, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We got to move on though, because we have been on this topic for a while, which is fine because it is the main topic. But I want to hit on some news here before we get to the questions. So CBBTC, Coinbase custody version, wrapped version of BTC that will actually be mintable on base chain is being launched, and it got announced after the restructuring of wrapped BTC, which is on Ethereum. It's been managed on multi-sigs by BitGo, and it looks like Justin Sun has kind of rolled into this new plan, but he came out and said, hey, look, I don't have the keys to any of these multi-sigs, but it scares people. And so Coinbase released this. What do you think this means for like wrapped versions of BTC? Does it affect our ecosystem at all? What do you think?
I mean, I think it's good, right? We've seen the exuberance in Solana because cheaper fees. When Ethereum gets overcooked, the fees get outrageous. And I remember that in 2021, 22, where you were having to debate, do I want to mint this and then double the price because I have to pay the gas fee? So I, just like we talked about with Binance earlier, right? They have their BNB chain and have some ties to Fractal Bitcoin. Coinbase is the US crypto market, right? At the end of the day, they have a very strong hold on that, and Base is their baby. So they're going to try and build that up over time. Will it become Solana? I don't know. It would have to be a lot of changing, maybe a few cycles down, whatever. But I think Coinbase is going to continue to try and innovate and do things that you can't do elsewhere at that price, because it is just a very cheap chain and it does work efficiently. But then you get to people that are more security minded. At the end of the day, Coinbase could be tracking everything on there, doing certain things. But in this day and age, realistically, like, Bitcoin's traceable. Most things are traceable unless you're being very sophisticated. So I don't think that's as big a concern, especially with the niche we're in, right? People are just degenning to get their bag for down the road. And if they have a, huge payday, then they'll sort that out with their tax advisor, hopefully.
Yeah. And this makes me think a little bit that like the whole concept of decentralization with like an entity is kind of just a sold narrative to us, right? Because at the end of the day, I think the only decentralization that we truly have in this world, and especially like our industry, is self-custody, right? So if you have self-custody of your Bitcoin, which we all promote here, I think we can agree with that. But like when an entity gets involved, it's like when you have revenue and then you have outside attention and investors. Greed will make people want to be a part of that, and it eventually becomes centralized no matter how hard you try to keep something decentralized. Is that what you think as well? Or
I mean, the market coalesces around it, and people see a way to make, you know, a percentage higher than holding their money in a bank account. So they start making bets, whether it's on a token or as a business investment. So yeah, I definitely I don't use base chain a ton. I've dabbled with it or whatever, but just like I use centralized exchanges a bit, right? I think 1 and 2 out put it out there one time. You know, use it like a bathroom. Walk in there, do your business, and walk out. Am I going to leave my life savings on Coinbase, any other centralized exchange, or like even BNB base, etc.? No, I put the vast majority of mine in self-custody Bitcoin. Now, do I have other places where I keep a portion that I'm willing to lose or go through the headache of getting back? Yeah, of course, because there are nice tools. Like I use MEXC for perps because the fees are so low, and there's certain tokens on there I can just grab spot, and I don't have to know, oh, is this token on Ethereum or Solana? Which wallet do I use? Which DEX do I go to? Like I'm versed enough where I know where to find it, but I also can just go to one place and put my $250 bet, and then, you know, hopefully I can sell it into USDT for more in a month or so. So there's a tool out there for almost everything, and it's really just your risk basis. And at the end of the day, self custody, you know, lock away those seed phrases, have a plan in place, and you know, I treat the vast majority of my crypto, and this is something I've had to like break, is not for me. It's for my children's or my children's children. So I've had to even like break that of myself to say, like, I need to send a little bit and realize some of these gains, not even just in USDT value. I need to realize them like IRL value, whether it's like going on a trip, sending it to my wife to pay something or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, great points there. And I guess I would change my statement a little bit, because I do feel more comfortable like having some of my Bitcoin in like a Unisat wallet versus Coinbase. But there's levels to it, right? Obviously, the main decentralized way is to have self custody there.
We can go down the Satoshi Dice route another episode.
Exactly. All right. A couple more things just for updates, and then we'll get into the questions and comments. I think Shizzy has some stuff for us here. Cool. But Fractal Bitcoin resets its testnet and activates the block height at 21,000. So this is with an upgrade to Opcat being added to their testnet. So I went
still testnet though, still testnet.
Yeah, still testnet, and I went to my wallet and realized that or my wallets, I should say, and all my testnet BTC that I got from Unisat's faucet is gone. So is that something we have to redo again? That's the question. I think it is.
Yeah, I believe so. I think like when it resets the chain, you know, it's a reset. So all balances are void, all inscriptions are void, etc. So on this one though, because they're doing it at a specific block height, I think the existing transactions of this reset may move forward, but we'll find out in like 6 days. And it's at the end of the day, it's a test net. They've told everybody it's not incentivized. They're doing airdrops through, you know, whatever tokens and standards they choose. But like testnet is literally just that, to test it, devs to dev, people to get comfortable with the tool. And, you know, it's been cool. I mean, you know, you just drop down that Unisat tab and change it. It's got that, you know, going from Ethereum to Arbitrum or Ethereum to Base kind of feel in your MetaMask.
Yep. And then the last bit of news here is Odin Swap is officially in testnet as well, and they need your help. So this is kind of back to that like centralized approach. You know, Odin Swap is kind of like a dot swap here. Do you think that this is a solution for degenning on layer 1?
It's definitely, it's definitely a solution. You know, Xverse putting dot swap in their wallet, obviously, you know, a great partnership for both of them. At the end of the day, it is still, you know, a centralized solution. But it's moving along the spectrum. Is that a better solution than some, you know, foreign exchange that you've never worked with? No. You know, is Coinbase for a casual novice user maybe a better one? Maybe. But they're going to keep trying to do this. And over time, ideally, it does move more to a decentralized model with Opcat coming in, or maybe Fractal Bitcoin or some other solution that, you know, is well vetted and trusted. So I think that, you know, partnerships like this are good. Is it perfect? No. But, you know, had Magic Eden partnered up with somebody, and I've heard that there are rumors that they had partnered with somebody, but it didn't quite work out, right? Because it is very difficult to work with UTXO models. And at the end of the day, Magic Eden is a Solana marketplace, right? They're learning away from EVM chains as they go, whereas other people have been using UTXOs for a very long time, i.e. Unisat on BSV and other chains like that.
Yeah. And who knows, like Odin Swap or Dot Swap, which uses the centralized approach, if it becomes big enough and robust enough, like it eventually could turn into an actual centralized exchange down the road, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, essentially that's what it is. It's just like scaled down big time for like a niche community or ecosystem, right? So, but we know that Nikib is behind it, and Ordinal Revolution has had a great relationship with Nikib, and if anybody can create a degen atmosphere, it's that guy. So go reach out to their Twitter, or you can see the link if you go to their Twitter and start testing it out, guys. It would be a big help to the ecosystem and to Odin Swap themselves. So, and then one last thing, I don't have a banner on here, but I want to say that Foxy is also in beta test mode. I played their game, their Bitverse game this morning. Really fun. Features have been added. They added the DMT miner as well. So go check that out. Go to their Discord, see if you can get a code to be added to their beta version, because you can go and play. It's a first-person shooter. Very, very fun. We'll have a segment in the future. Maybe we'll do like a live gaming segment, and you can join us, Jay.
Cool. Yeah, definitely.
For sure. All right, let's get into some of these questions and comments here. I'm going to go from the top. Let's see if there was anything there at the top. First show from without Shizzy. What's it going to be like? It's been okay. It's been good. J25 bringing the all the education here. I'll tell you, the roll call for me exhausted me a little bit. But
you haven't had the training like Shizzy. Yeah. We didn't get in we have to get in a Mr. Yagobi.
That's what gets me going.
Right.
That is my my indicator to get the show going there. Okay, so go ahead.
I was going to say, stop clicking on this screen and look at the right screen.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
because that's your cue usually to come into the show. Yeah,
exactly.
I got to put my phone down. Okay.
Decentralized says, what is your perspective on Fractal making him a millionaire?
Yeah, I told him 0, but yeah. No, I mean, I think there's great opportunity with Fractal Bitcoin. Like anything that's new and gets airdropped to a lot of different people will probably see a dump, right? But then does it get adoption? So, as we saw the example with Merlin Chain, there's definitely differences, right? There was a hype cycle. There was the drops, and there was opportunities to make money if you timed it correctly, which timing is very hard. And now, there's different narratives going on, but I still think that places like Merlin Chain have their place. And I was even mentioning to Yagobi in the pre-show, the one thing that I think they really missed out on was trying to adopt EVM style airdrop hunters like the Blast one or Arbitrum, etc., and onboarding those people towards Bitcoin. Be like, hey, you can use an EVM chain, but you have the sound money of Bitcoin. And if you want to choose to go back to L1 Bitcoin, hey, here's our bridge or other swaps, etc. So if they bring out a good, bitmap tool, game, etc., I've still used it for random things from time to time. I know Surf Protocol is something that you've used in the past. So there's definitely tools and builders for Ethereum DEX, etc., that are going to be out there. And at the end of the day, it's does the market, go there, use it, and stay there for the longer term. So ideally, more EVM people can want to move towards Bitcoin, and this could be a nice half step, whether it's Merlin Chain or some other L2 EVM style chain. But we're going to also see experiments like Fractal Bitcoin, and who knows, maybe the resuberance of ICM or the Nakamoto upgrade with Stacks, right? There's a lot of talk around these L2s, 1.5s, whatever side chains you want to call them.
Yeah, you made some good points. Yeah, I do use, or I did use, Merlin Chain for some leverage trading and stuff like that. And I want to show you this chart here. And it is the Bitcoin sidechain on DeFi Llama. If you go to DeFi Llama, click chains and go to Bitcoin sidechains. If you look at 24-hour volume, I mean, Merlin is consistently the top. And I know this isn't saying like a ton because it's still like barely over $1 million,
Yeah.
but it's consistently like 3 times or more higher than every other side chain. Now,
I remember you said yesterday Stacks had like 11K or whatever. I mean, I'm hopeful that Stacks is, but it's really prove it or stop at this point. Like, if anybody, I've never even really used Stacks because every single person that I've ever talked to hates the experience of Stacks. So if the Nakamoto upgrade doesn't, deliver, it's going to be trouble. But like, yeah, the numbers are the numbers, right? People are using it, whether, it's all new users or this or that, right? But there is trading going on it.
Yeah, and it's like I said, you can check every day for a week. Do it. Challenge you to do it and see
Yeah.
if there's another side chain that does more volume. And it's always like 3 or 4 more times than number 2. Now, Map Protocol, I remember Map Protocol launching a BRC20 or someone associated to them, and it like completely dumped. So
Yeah.
these numbers right here are probably not legit, right? Or I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
But what I do see consistently, and I'm not here to hate on Stacks, but look, I mean, Stacks did $1,800 in volume yesterday. How is it like so promoted from a like, oh, this is going to be the biggest next thing, whenever it's doing like less than $20,000 a day in volume?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, right? Like it definitely, the markets are going to decide at the end of the day. So, even like Merlin, okay, say maybe half of that is Merlin chain actually moving funds around and doing things right. But there's the need for them to move funds around to fund this, add LP here, etc. Right. And then obviously some of it's a user base, or dApps being built, etc. And it's just, yeah, the Stacks Nakamoto upgrade, I've been following it. I know some Stacks developers. I wish them the world, but I will not be trying it day one. Like, I want to, it's prove it or shut up time. And I kind of feel like that about even like BRC 20s with this session in Q4, right? If they can't, Unisat specifically with Fractal Bitcoin bring a usable product that allows swapping at an easy level, like, yeah, maybe in a year or two it does make a comeback or whatever, but this is their big cook and this is their time to shine if they want to be the dominant. I think I hold a similar idea as you, is that like there won't be only one standard, but maybe it's 60-40, 75-25 with some fluctuation from time to time. Certain tokens may take the lead or whatever. But if Unisat really wants to add value to the SATS token, to the FB token, the market needs to have a reason to be there and use it and hold it. For me, I like the aspect that they're bringing in the merge mining, because I have old miner. I would love to hook up to it, right? Imagine all of these old defunct Ethereum miners. And that was a big reason I fell out of love with Ethereum, is because of the move from proof to stake, right? I was tinkering with computers, building home rigs and things like that. And I feel like it is a different chain when it moves away of mining versus proof of stake. So the proof of work model is the only way you can take energy and put it into, it's digital internet fake money. But at the end of the day, right, every Star Trek, Star Wars, etc., you're working on a credit system of some kind. So realistically, what are we going to back our money by someday? Gold is technically if infinite. If you go into outer space, you mine an asteroid, etc. Even people on Earth say that the market's manipulated, right? So I think someday, whether it's 1,000, 1,000,000 years, whatever it may be, but the unit of energy is like a specific physics related thing. I mean, when you're really getting down to like the atom in the core, right? We saw the explosion, but of nuclear proliferation, whether it be for negative or positive energy generation. And I think that digital economy just continues to scale, just takes time, and we don't know what that time scale is.
This is kind of weird, but I saw someone, I don't know if it was on Twitter or something, about some guy trying to eat like a nuclear element or something, right?
An
They said that
isotope or something.
and if it got activated, it would be 2 billion calories. Because like energy is calories, it converts to calories,
Right.
right? Because it's
Right.
joules, right?
Yep.
So that was very interesting. But I agree with you. I think in the future, in the merge mining thing, huge. Because what happens now? You're not just getting support from degens that want their backs to go up. You're getting support
And
from
willing
a
to dump
mining
as soon as
community,
right.
mining community, and that is one of the strongest support communities you can get, because
Yep.
they're running their machines. They want to have some say. They want the whole project and ecosystem to develop out. So that's where I think it's like people are sleeping on Fractal for that part, because that could really blow it up. And the fact that it is merge mining, meaning that people that are mining Bitcoin already, they can just upgrade their node software or whatever, and
point to
now
a
they're
new
mining
pool or whatever
side by side.
Yeah.
So could be huge.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that do speculative mining on this new token or that new token, and I've looked into that. It just didn't really make sense for me at the time. But this one, I will like have my rig ready. Maybe I put some cards back on a machine, but I need more specifics. Like at the end of the day, we've talked with a lot of these, and I get it. You know what I mean? There's still moving parts and everything like that. But yeah, I would definitely like more specifics and then actually see it roll out, and I'll definitely be trying it out.
Yeah, we don't want to whip up your node type situation that happened.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
hey, it's always good for security purposes, but yeah,
true.
maybe not for as technical, for some.
Yep. Kai Effect says, is Fractal Faucet back up? And I just checked, Kai, and I was able to get Testnet BTC. Now, I don't know if they're going to take that from you once it's reset at block 21,000. So just keep that in mind. I would keep an eye on your wallet that you do try to get this Testnet BTC, Fractal Testnet BTC from, because right now it's showing that I got it, but it could reset on the 21,000 block. So
yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got. From Shizzy_OR, he says, what's J25's favorite meme and why? Of course, he would ask this.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I'm wearing my puppets hat, so I'll shout out to the puppets. I don't know if it's exactly a meme per se, but I do like the chaos. The Goosenals and OSD. That's kind of our niche, right? We aren't like very mainstream. We have our niche where we're around the edge. A lot of us, maybe we think we're on either the last of the cutting edge or the first of the cutting edge, but I just really like the persona. I've met great people. Shout out to Hills for Nashville putting on a great event. And doing that just out of the kindness of her heart, right? She's not getting paid to do this, right? She's giving back to the community. And that's the kind of people that I've met in that community over and over again. So I've really enjoyed it. I'm not, I wasn't in for the mint. I was one of the ones that like the mint site broke and I was like, and I've learned that lesson more than once now. And I'll definitely keep it, moving forward. Is if you're interested in something and you have a little bit of, a shakeup, wait a day or two and buy it on secondary, right? Like, maybe you don't get the lowest absolute cost, but just like when you're perp trading or this or that, you don't need to catch 100% and sell, buy every bottom and sell every top. You need to just catch a move. So that's one big lesson that I've learned probably over and over and will again, but just trying to reinforce. So shout out to the puppets community. Always have a blast whenever I'm hanging out with DGen or Buck's been coming in. He's a really great trader, trades like, meat to, oil and everything else. So, but also loves the DGen and his crypto.
Meat?
Yeah. He does like commodities trading and stuff. Ghostload does like, puts and calls, and it's crazy. Like just the people you'll meet if you start asking around. And I know a lot of these communities have similar, diverse people in it, but yeah, the Bitcoin puppets, I think, we have our boomer folks, etc. But that's Bitcoin, right? So it kind of makes sense. And it's our little like schizophrenic wing of the ward.
Yeah. Well, I need to follow that guy, because if he's successful at trading meat, then
I'll
probably follow his crypto plays and you'll get me rich. Shizzy says, what's the best plan for Fractal? How do I find the hoo cat of Fractal? I would say maybe this project that's coming up, Pumps Sats Fun.
Pump.
It's
Fun.
Sats
Yep.
Pump Fun. So that probably would be a smart choice to maybe start at. Also, there's rumors that the swap could be named Pizza Swap.
Yep.
So maybe want to start there as well. There will be a hoo-hoo of Fractal and a first coin mover. But I think the biggest thing for me is, has Fractal been overhyped like runes? And will there be this? I'm glad that they came out and said, hey, look, the inscriptions that you guys did and stuff, those aren't going to count, because it seemed like it was kind of heading into this pre-rune sec kind of environment.
Yeah.
And I think that's the last thing we need for something like Fractal. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. Getting Fractal Bitcoin is going to allow you to then purchase things on Fractal Bitcoin too, right? So Uniworlds is a project that's put out their named domain space, and then also keys. There's been talk that they're intertwined with Unisat, obviously, so those might have a play. But yeah, the Sats Pump Fund says they're going to be the first meme coin. I think that they have ties with the team, but I've also talked to Fractal Bitcoin, ordinal projects that say they're going to be the first, right? And it goes back to the same narrative. We had this with Node Monks and OCM and the punks and everybody else, right? Saying, no, we're the first. No, and that there's all these timelines and all the, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, right? That people are going to put it on chain, and it's going to do what it does, whether it's community, utility, or just straight degeneracy, right? People are going to be there and speculate on things. But yeah, I don't want to see this like pre-fractal. I've seen some of that, thrown around, and I just want to see it like actually on there. I'm a little more bullish on Fractal Bitcoin, just like I still hold some of my Merle, but it's more of a long-term bet. Take some off the table. Pizza, right? I got that airdropped when I was actually like out of the market, and I got my laptop when I was in Vegas and said, okay, I'm gonna sell some of this just in case. And it did dip down, and now it's back almost to a price I sold it at. So I could have made a play, but I'm very big on like getting an airdrop and realizing some of those gains. And for like dog go to the moon, like I probably should have sold it, pre-runes or very close to the initial one. But even my own bets or my own feelings, I'll hedge against. So I kept like 20% of it for the long term, just because you never know what might happen. What if one of these dApps or token drops or whatever does become the next big thing? I want to at least have a portion of it. So it's always great to take profits. It's always great to get those sats and tuck them away. But even hedging against your own bets, your own feelings, right? That's not a bad idea in my opinion too.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy. That way you're not, all your eggs are not in a basket for an airdrop or anything. Because yes, it was an airdrop, but
right.
I mean, you still want to make the best of every situation, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good strategy there. All right. We're going to get through some of these comments and questions a little bit quicker because it is kind of getting close to that end time here. But Sebastian brought to says ARC20 ? And I would say you should ask that to the Atomicals builders, because they need to either, one, market that ecosystem better so people know what's going on, or two, build more. I still hold ARC20 stuff because I just was, I am a person that believes that in some way there's going to be a lot of VCs and other outside investors that are going to try to replicate 2021. I don't think we get the exact same type of situation, but one thing that I do think we see, if there is some sort of like ecosystem DeFi boom in Bitcoin, it's going to be a liquidity passing the torch a bit. And I think if that's the case, if there's something that's already built out that will try to kind of jumpstart that, to revive it, get the liquidity. And so that's kind of why I held on to that, as well as my tap stuff and stuff like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it seems another bid with Fractal Bitcoin and liquidity, kind of like I was talking, if that's going to be obviously highlight BRC20s, but will help runes and maybe other token standards by having the functionality of swaps and doing more things on the Fractal Bitcoin layer. But it is a much more Asian-centric protocol at the end of the day, and they didn't have a great, like, not that you need a front person, but like a marketing narrative to get people interested in it. They've talked about the splitting tool, which obviously we know you can split runes. there should be a way to split atomicals. I believe that there has been a tool built, but never fully launched. They've talked about doing, this EVM style mechanism. I'm not sure exactly how, and I've heard, rumors that it may be jumping to another chain, etc. So until they actually deliver something and the market sees the value in it, there's very interesting things, right? Casey obviously took things from BRC20's atomicals and probably passed, token standards and his knowledge with Rust and everything else to build runes, because there are many similarities to different, token standards, even the ones we're still using. But the market's just decided that it's not happening there right now. And I was involved in it a little bit, but I actually had one token. I think it was Sophon, because they did it in 100,000 token allotments. So that's 100,000 is a decent amount of sats. And I had, I think, like 10 packs of them. I ended up sending it to an exchange because it was selling. Now, it wasn't selling, and it was priced below a sat. So, it was selling for a discount of the actual Satoshi, which I'm not, I'll go pay the 0.011 fee to swap it out and get some fresh Bitcoin or whatever I choose to do. So, but that was just one. Like, if I had obviously Atom or one of the big, mainstays, but I made a few decent trades there, just like, BRC 100s. And I see that as a standard that's trying to come out and do more things, but it's very nascent. Not a lot of people using it, and the volume's just not there.
Yeah. So they did have a front guy in Arthur. He went by A, but he was like, I want to build this and kind of walk away. But it seems like he walked away a little bit too early, maybe.
Right.
But hey, it's kind of like one of those things for me. They have a wallet, they have marketplaces, and if one day, like we're in the middle of the bull and all of a sudden you hear ARC20s, I'm going to be excited.
Yeah.
So, it's something like that. But
and there could be a VC group that's passionate about it in Asia and starts over, right? It says, hey, this is bottomed out, it's dirt cheap, let's dive in and actually ship this XYZ, tie into here, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Mauricio says link for the Foxy game. I did put it in the chat there, Mauricio. So check that out. Your boy
their Twitter probably has their Discord too or something. Yeah.
Yep. It's also in their Discord if you don't want to click the link because you don't trust us, but I think you would because you've been here for a while. Your boy DVH says, what do you think of RSIC? This is something I wanted to, bring up because this is a topic that's sensitive to most, I would say. I never really fully bought into RSIC, and I'll admit, I think I got maybe like 2 airdrops of the RSIC miner, which to me was a bit shocking. I was like, I think I deserve more than that, but I only got 2.
I got a goose egg. So
did you?
Yeah,
okay, I ended up flipping those kind of early, way too early. I think I flipped for like $600 worth of value or something. But look, I saw people that bought a ton that were in our circle and stuff like that, and they did well. And then all of a sudden, whenever the coin got listed and runes got listed, it was kind of like this, we listed on OKX and then straight down. Right? And so now that it's revived, what do you think this is about? Is it kind of like the devs are like, I don't really give a crap what they're saying. The time isn't right. I'm not going to pay attention to any of the community. And then when the time feels a little bit right, then I'll put something out. I mean, that's what I'm thinking from an outside perspective that has no skin in the game. But what about you?
Yeah, so I was doing Liquidium a lot, and I got one defaulted to me, and then waited and was able to actually sell the meta protocol, the RSIC ordinal, for a profit. So I accumulated the tokens for free, right? I actually got paid to accumulate them, so I kept those, and I actually did buy a little bundle here or there on the way down. So for me, it's a trade, right? It says it's a meta protocol, but they're not building anything. This is an only experiment directly from the Rune devs' words. There seems to be, a community initiative, however you want to frame that, around, rejuvenating it. So, maybe it was an accumulation period and there really will be things to build. But yeah, I'm not diving in head first. I'm not buying much more of them. I made little spot plays, just like I said with Dog, right? Like I sold a good chunk of it, but I also kept some to hedge my bets. I've also kept my sats and round trip that from a great price and then back down. And now we're seeing that to have another bid, right? Because I think that longer term that it could have more value. Now, if fractal Bitcoin and it goes to like all-time highs 5x from the last, obviously I'll be more inclined to probably liquidate some and move my position down a little bit more. But like for RSIC specifically, I think it's a meme coin that tries to say it's not a meme coin. And I don't get that at the end of the day, right? You said it's a meta protocol. So what is your meta protocol, right? Are you building proto runes, which somebody's already, mentioned and trying to do, and have that be an ecosystem where runes can do more? I don't know if it's true, but I've heard the rumor that RSIC or the rune dev is the reason that Magic Eden doesn't have a swap. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that would make sense, right? He was the main player, and shout out to him. I know he's helped tons of teams get their runes in wallets. At the end of the day, that is a huge feat, and he was helping that ecosystem thrive. But like a lot of people, he obviously took the summer off and he's back, but it's not like he's saying, oh, this is going to get shipped, this is going to get shipped, and maybe it's on the horizon. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's all of runes essentially. Besides a select few, there are some that are trying to bring utility. I know you're involved with some, but they're all memes at the end of the day. So even with this uptick right in the last couple of days, dog has stayed pretty flat, and it was the leader, out front. So maybe the rest of them need to, get some gains, etc., to then funnel back into that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like RSIC pumped the runes ecosystem a little bit once it started to move, right? Because other than
they
couple
caught the
of these
bounce
other,
first,
other than a couple of these other plays like Aletheus, Agora, which has been consistent in terms of their price point. They're right around $1 million, but they're a predictions market, right? So you can utilize them today. And let's be real, like the tokens in any Bitcoin like layer one are not themselves being utilized in utility, but having a project that you can utilize, that makes a difference in my opinion. Because hopefully they can integrate the token in somehow, or you can earn through it or whatever. But I agree with you, all of them are memes, but maybe this RSIC pump kind of got the market a little excited, and some people took their gains if they bought when it was cheap and poured them into other things. But we shall see. You did make a good point. There's they've been quiet this whole time, but it's not just them. There's projects like Fehu. What is that? It was like number one
decentralized.
What is Fehu, right? Like I still hold it because I'm just like, oh my god, it's like a great surprise and amazing. But like there's this mystery, and I think people also have to realize that like Fractal could be a part of Rune's success, and a lot of people are just only correlating them with BRC20 because it is Unisat, but you're going to be able to bridge your runes, right?
Yeah. I mean, realistically, I don't see why not. I haven't heard anything specific, and it's a Unisat team. So I think that they're going to cater to BRC20s first. Obviously, they have a vested interest in that. But I think that, if liquidity and volume and fees at the end of the day will make that, make sense.
Yeah. Yep. All right. We got to run through these. Sixes says, awesome show. Dope guest. Appreciate your support there. Crypto Rasa says, I always wondered why more projects didn't merge mine with Bitcoin. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thought.
Yeah, I think there's been attempts at it, and it just hasn't, worked correctly. There's some memes going around about Paul Stork and Drive Chain because he kind of tried to do it the right way, take the time, build a software, do it the kind of OG route. And now Unisat is just like, no, we're going to do it however we want, because they've been through the fork wars of the past and things like that. And they know, it's easier to ask for forgiveness after a success than, ask for permission and then be denied. So it's definitely interesting, and I think that that's just the lesson that many of these builders have learned. They went somewhere else, tried to do what they want to do, it didn't work out, whatever reason, whatever chain it may be, and they realized like you need to be adjacent to Bitcoin in some standard. So if Bitcoin isn't going to change, then we're going to just build these tumors off the side and see what we can do.
Tumors, I like that. SPI says, is there any BTC L1 that doesn't wrap Bitcoin? And I think the question is there any, I guess, chain that doesn't wrap Bitcoin?
Like takes like the actual UTXO.
No, there isn't. Yeah, because you can't bridge directly from Bitcoin to another chain. Until
kind of like using a Mac operating system and trying to download a Mac software and put it on Windows, right? Like it's just it's a different language at the end of the day. They might have similarities. But yeah, I mean, even technically when you're using Bitcoin on like Merlin, right, it's a wrapped version, even though it doesn't say that, right? You know, because it's on a different chain. It's just a holder like anywhere else.
Maybe Opcat can solve that if there's a bridge that can, technically bridge it over. I don't know. I'm not advanced at that level.
And that's like what the drive chain and Stacks and then Fractal are saying is a pegging system where you may actually be able to take your Bitcoin and it's not just a representation in some wallet somewhere. So we'll see. Yeah. But that's another, if, and we have to see.
Yep. Decentralized. Is it decentralized? Same person?
That's him.
He says, hereby announcing a pre-fractal puppet derivative staking pre-rune fractionalized RWA backed index funds. RWA, that's been a buzzword for like 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, look forward to that.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like puppets, man. That energy is still here, even though things are down, but everything's down right now, right? So
and they pumped so hard, right? Like there was a lot of people that came and went, and you're gonna have the people that got in for whatever reason and capitulate, and then diamond hands are gonna grab it, and it's a normal market cycle.
Yep. And then I think the last question here is from Crypto Russa. What is Bitcoin OS? I don't know a ton about it. I know Yogi is his name, maybe, or Yago, not Yagobi. Not Yagobi. He's a Bitcoin developer, and he's behind this. But I need to dive deeper into it. Do you know anything about it?
About the same. I've looked at it a little bit and just haven't deep dove into it. But yeah, it's on the list of things to look at. But yeah, I just haven't seen much about it yet.
Yeah,
I'm sure I've read the paper or something at some point, but nothing like really jumped out to me.
Yeah, maybe we can touch on it tomorrow.
Okay,
she'll be back with us tomorrow. But that's going to wrap up our. Yes, your homework. Make sure your dog doesn't eat your homework. But guys, if you have a moment, please check out our partners. Trying to point at them. BitPerp, I already talked about them. The premium Perps DEX that's going to be launching on Botonix Bitcoin Layer 2 trading competition. Paper trading is going to be live, I believe, in about 2 to 3 weeks. We'll get more details for you. Go check out their site, bitperp.io, and learn more about them before you start using them. Ordinal Hive is the Blur of Bitcoin. They are building on Merlin chain right now. Their beta is open to everybody. So you don't have to go to their Discord. You can just go to beta.ordinalhive.io, start trading and earning points now. Those points should be able to transition into possibly some Ordinal Hive runes tokens. So, and then we have Fluid tokens, which is the Bitcoin Layer 1 DEX for runes, to where they use limit buy and sell orders as liquidity. So it's a different way of doing it, but you can swap on there, and you have one more day, guys, to get into the top 1,000 points rankings for the Fluid Pass airdrop. Now that pass will translate into earning tokens. You should be able to stake that pass as well down the line. And finally, Verothium DEX, which is the Bitcoin Layer 1 focused asset DEX on Merlin. They're focusing on BRC 420 single staking as well as LP. So if you're a BRC 420 project founder, reach out to Verothium DEX right now so you can set that staking up with them, as well as possibly launching a token on VDEX along with your BRC 420. But that is our partners there. And when you get a chance, check out ordinalrevolution.com, which has blogs. And also you can buy some of our gear there. We have hats, shirts, puppet stuff, everything in the Ordinal space. And that is going to wrap up our show. Any last word from you for today?
No, thanks again. See you tomorrow. Let's have some fun again.
All right. Let's
back to Sam Sage.
Yes. Back to Sam Sage. Peace.
We OG, oh no, G. You're not bullish enough, yeah. Oh no, you're not bullish enough. You ain't got the oh no. I get stoned by the bolo. Bitcoin set to overload, yeah. Experts on reload, yeah. You're not bullish enough, yeah. Oh no, you're not bullish enough. You ain't got the oh no. I get stoned by the bolo. Bitcoin set to overload. Experts on reload. Mempool getting hot. Everybody wanna rock, ayy. Runes is coming, everybody on a knot, ayy. it's a nuisance. Ordinal Revolution. Hey, Ordinal Revolution. Yo, it's my guy for real, bro. Got friends right now. Yo, BRC 420, bro. Yo, that shit on fire, bro. Imagine if he in here. Yeah, lock it in the seal. Murder. I got balls of steel. Nookies on the field. Yeah, this shit for real. With no calls, I get so far. Got 100 phone calls that I go hard, and they gon' love me. Smoke weed, huddle back. I get shiesty. Where my Bitcoin looking lovely. All this Satoshi's nothing above me.